Hey, everybody, it's Courtney Bowden here, and welcome to the Think Like a Thought Leader show, where Black entrepreneurs, leaders, and change makers like you come to learn how to build wealth related to the work that you do in the world. Now, today's show is a lot different than I expected it to be, that I'm sure you might have expected it to be. There won't be a special guest thought leader to drop gems here today. Instead, I want to talk about something that I feel is really important and something that has impacted me directly within the last 12 days, especially. I want to talk about the culture of toxic performance and productivity. So, this is me laid bare, uncut, but I felt such a strong urge to talk about this because it's killing us. It's killing the high performers. It's killing those with high performing potential. It's to our detriment, honestly. And if you're anything like me, you've probably entered this year with the highest expectations for success, which is probably reflected in some way, shape, or form in some journal entry or vision board. And after 33 trips around the sun, I've come to understand that on the road to greatness, challenges do appear, they do occur, and they are sure to come. It's not something that we can get around. But it's something about this year, 2020, that just hits different. And I think it's safe to say that for all of us, it's been a very trying year. And even that's an understatement of the century, I think. Less than 2 weeks ago, I lost a dear sister friend without warning. And my friend was brilliant. She was hilarious. She was accomplished, generous, and she was a light inspiration and motivation to everyone that crossed her path. Her name was Dr. Charnel Davenport. And this past weekend, we celebrated her life. And the days that followed her passing, though, were filled with questions, confusion, despair, and grief. Truthfully, they still are. It's still kind of raw. And it usually takes a lot to rattle my cage. But this was the culmination of things that had been building up for me for a while. And it was the straw that broke the camel's back, if you will. It made me reevaluate my relationship to work, to my business, to my friends, to my family, and most importantly, to myself. It's inspired me to redefine what Black excellence looks like. And finally, it's prompted me to give myself the space to be fully human. And honestly, as a Black American, that in itself is a revolutionary act. But I gotta be painfully honest with you right now. I foolishly thought that I'd be ready to return back to normal by now. But what's really true is my life has been forever changed. There's no going back to what was normal. And I think a lot of us can understand what that feels like given how 2020 has unfolded. Because my entire world has been rocked. Had this happened like 2 or 3 years ago, I'd probably cry my tears briefly, then suck it up, swallow my sorrow and my grief, and just move on. But, I'd gotten really good at performing, acting like everything was okay when it wasn't, pushing past my limits and enduring unspeakable pain in order to produce. And I know I can't be the only one because for so long it's been an expectation that we do so for survival and for the culture. But this time I can't. I can't. I won't. And I don't even want to. These past 12 days have taught me so much. And they forever changed the way that I operate in my life moving forward. So I've had to ask those who partner with and patronize my company for grace during this time. I've had to ask for extra support from my husband and from my friends. I've had to really lean on my community. And it just illustrates again how much we all need each other. And that requires a level of vulnerability that's often foreign to people like us, the entrepreneurs, the leaders, the change makers, the ones who are the strong friends or the strong family member or the strong loved one. And along this journey, there will be times where you'll have to pause and acknowledge what's there and what's coming up for you, both mentally, spiritually, and emotionally. And for me, it's one of those times. We might be high performers, but we're not machines. We might be bosses, but we're not impenetrable. We're not impenetrable. I think too many gurus and influencers will have you believing that if you're not constantly grinding, striving, pushing, or forcing your way through, then you're not really doing anything meaningful. And I want to challenge that mindset. That's what this show is all about. It's really helping you think like a thought leader. And I want to encourage those of you who might be watching or listening or who are working toward big dreams, audacious goals, and legendary visions for yourself, maybe even a passion-filled purpose, that it's totally okay and ultimately imperative that you honor the fullness of your humanity. Doing so doesn't make you weak. In fact, our overall wellness depends on it. In my work, I talk a lot about wealth building and thought leadership. And I believe that purpose plays a huge role in whether and how you experience wealth, whether and how you ascend to thought leadership, and ultimately whether and how you become a highly respected and highly sought after brand expert, influencer, what have you. And one major thing that this time away has really taught me is that operating in purpose doesn't require an artificial performance. It merely requires us to be the highest version of our truest selves. So today I'm recommitting to covering the topics that you care about from a humanized and nuanced perspective in a way that might challenge your worldview, but will always call you higher. You're going to hear us talk about everything from mental health to marketing, everything that impacts your life and your business and your legacy. And my greatest desire for the Think Like a Thought Leader show is that you leave feeling equipped and empowered to really create the purpose-filled life and business that allows you to make massive impact and live your best life. Because I'm just crazy enough to believe that both are possible without detrimental self-sacrifice, endless struggle, and exhausting amounts of strife. We can shout that our lives matter until we're blue in the face, but our actions ultimately around that ethic and that sentiment are the strongest evidence of that. So I want you to remember that Black excellence does not and should not require perfection. I'll say that again. Black excellence does not and should not require or demand perfection. So let's normalize pausing. Let's normalize grieving. Let's normalize healing, especially during this time where we feel like we're being forced to keep pushing through no matter what. And once we allow ourselves the space or the grace to do so, it becomes really easier for us to allow others the space to do so for themselves, because our very lives depend on it. And if you hear nothing else from this, here's what I want you to know: that your life matters. Not when you're producing, not when you're speaking, not when you are transforming lives. That stuff matters too. But your life matters just because. Just because you woke up this morning. Just because you dared to keep breathing. And that comes with no caveats or prerequisites. So thank you so much for watching this, for sticking with me, for supporting this show. I love you for watching, and we'll talk soon.